Greetings, welcome to all of our listeners around the world. Happy Friday if you're watching us live. I'm Doug Kennedy coming to you from the KTN headquarters down near Miami and Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Welcome to this month's topic. It seemed to have got a lot of interest. Conquering complaints confidently. So a shout out to all, as we always do. First of all, a shout out to our sponsors, without whom we would not be able to schedule the time to develop the content, schedule the time off the road to present the content, and also help promote the content to get the word out to all of you lovely folks who are watching us. So thank you to Track, a TravelNet solution, which is a fantastic property management system for the vacation rental management industry, condo hotels. They also have a lot of other services with digital marketing, as well as Track Pulse, which is a reservation CRM that works for hotels, resorts, and call centers, as well as vacation rental. Travel Outlook, which has been our dear client since 2012, the premier hotel call center, the only one fully certified by Kennedy Training Network. In fact, their last month's score was 93% on our call scoring. For those of you who are mystery shopping clients, you know that's not an easy thing. So as we always do, as we're waiting for more of you to join us live, we're going to do shout outs and welcomes around the world. Let's thank our global partners, the attending from the furthest away awards. Elam from Ghana, thank you. Regal Hospitality, thank you again for reaching out, and we look forward to partnering with you perhaps on some work in Africa. We have Maria once again from Crown Resorts Australia. You seem to always turn out for us. Of course, it wouldn't be a webcast without Viceroy Los Cabos. Thank you for all of you for joining us. Nizuk Resort, you're so loyal. We have Anise from Bay Gardens again. I think this is the second time or third time you've been with us from St. Lucia. Cynthia Painter from Revenue Analytics, Bavaria, Germany. Cynthia, it's so great to have you join us, and congratulations. I don't know how new your new role is, but I think it's still fairly new. I saw that change on LinkedIn. We have many existing clients, Padre Getaways, our fam. And I think you all always watch us live. I saw you on the list right before I started, Lena and Jessica and the rest of your team. Away Day, Laura, if you're attending live, hello. If you watch later or hear this on Spotify, so enjoy being in touch. Jason, Marco Escapes, president and owner of the company. We appreciate that. KBM Resorts, Violet Carlsberg's company, one of our favorite peeps of all. Thank you for joining us, Reggie. Donna from Siebert. We will see you this fall in October for another on-site program. Jackie Rogers, Prime Vacations. I look forward to coming back. Hopefully it's working out some dates to get back to you very soon. I think we're looking at maybe late August, September. All right, now shout out to our new first timers. Waileani, I hope I said that right. Waileani in Kauai. Kathy Cook and I love going to Kauai. We were just there in March to present training. Welcome, Shannon. Ojai Valley Inn. I want to welcome you, Miranda, reservation manager. I got a chance to present training for your amazing hotel. I think it was 1992 when I was very young, starting in my training career. Do you still have, I think you call it the pink moment of the sunset there? I would love to come back and do some training, either for reservations or hospitality. Roman Spa Hot Springs, Kathy, the proprietor. Another old blast from my past Congress Hall, oh my gosh, in New Jersey. Cape Resorts, thank you for joining us. This hotel is amazing. It's in Cape May, New Jersey, and it's, I believe, built in the 1800s. I still remember the picture of John Philip Sousa directing a band on the lawn. That picture sticks with me every day. Chris, thank you for joining us. Elizabeth Glun's Ocean Beach, I believe that's up near Sarasota Colony. Lucas, 808 Maui, another of our favorite Hawaiian islands. Fairshare, Jean from Canada, thank you for joining us. Barat, we're not sure where you're from, but you are a GM We love seeing GMs turning out for content like this from Evolution Hospitality. Looks like a Holiday Inn property. And we have Migas Lodge again. So thank you. And I would love to go through every single person on the list. It would probably take up most of the webcast time, but we do see this every day. Julia and I, every month, we look forward to our attendance. We go through that before I start. I'm sitting alone in an office. Well, I have other people outside, but right now I'm alone and I got a little webcam. So I'm imagining all the people I just shouted out to be behind that camera. Let's get started conquering complaints confidently, right? So what is a complaint, you wonder? Well, you know, these days we can ask Google. These days now we can ask AI, but I actually ask a very good source here, thesaurus.com. What is a complaint? Now, some of these I knew, some of these I did not know. So in preparing for the webcast today, I learned a lot of things. An accusation, a charge, a criticism, a grievance, a gripe, an objection, a protest, a trouble. I know that. But a beef, okay, a cavil, a CC, a clamor, dissatisfaction, a grouse, expostulation. Sir, thank you for your expostulation. Boss, I have a guest. I'm getting an expostulation, all right? A gruff, a gerrymaid. Maybe these are different versions of English than we have here in America. But I'm going to tell you another thing that a complaint is, and this is another way to look at it. I hope you remember from our time today, a second chance. When someone actually brings us a complaint, it is an opportunity. An opportunity is a chance to resolve it. We often say in our KTN hospitality programs, including our Heart of Hospitality certification, which many of you have been through, the worst complaint, the one that's never mentioned, the one we read about in a review. Speaking of reviews, why is it even more than ever important to properly respond to guest complaints? Now, we know that it's always been important. We have word of mouth advertising. This is actually an AI image. I asked the AI, our AI product that we use for images, I said, craft me an image of someone with word of mouth advertising from the 1980s. She certainly has the 1980s hair. I think I had a girlfriend with that same hair, maybe in the 1980s. But back in the 1980s, it was only word of mouth. And we were told an actual complaint, if someone was upset as a customer, would tell 9 or 10 other people. Is it 9 or 10 others? Well, that's all we had in the past with word of mouth advertising. But you know, it's still an important part of marketing. In previous webcasts, I've shared JD Power and Associates data that says the #1 source that people still go to for important travel and lodging needs is friends and family, and is the social media of friends and family, even in today's world. But here in the information age, the 2020s, which is more than half over, that's scary. The voice of the guest has the potential to be much louder. Everybody has a megaphone. So they can go to Google, they can jump on TripAdvisor, they can go to Expedia, VerbalBooking.com, they can also jump onto their Facebook, Snap, X, Instagram, they can go on TikTok, and they do, they go on TikTok. But what's interesting now, only in recent months, people are starting to be comfortable using AI. So now you ask a question to Google, Gemini, which is the AI of Google, actually responds. This is a client we worked with earlier this year. How is the customer service at? Name of hotel that's blocked out. Customer service at? Name a hotel that's blocked out. And it's going to tell you all about it. The positive aspects, friendly staff. Many reviews mention specific employees who provide excellent, friendly, attentive service. Negative aspects, inconsistent quality. Many praise individual staff. Others report inconsistent service ranging from slow, unresponsive, to rude and unhelpful, especially at the front desk. That was before we went there to train them, by the way. So AI is turbocharging all of these sites. It is sourcing many different sources. You don't have to go to all these different sources to read. AI is going to source them, summarize it for you right there. So we love complaints, right? Because it's a second chance to overcome that grouse. I think I learned one new word today. Maybe not. And if you say maybe not, that's being honest, right? Sometimes the more emotionally available people, the more your heart is open, the more you love people. And why do you want to work in travel, tourism, hotel, vacation? Oh, I love people. Are you one of those people? I love people. Yeah. And then you get screamed at by your first upset guest. Sometimes it takes a toll, but that's why we're here today, because we're going to conquer complaints confidently. I'm going to share with you some proven tools to help us survive. The more emotionally available you are as a human, the harder it is to hear that negative feedback because it hurts. I know. I've been there. I've done that. Now, I have a question. Once your heart has been stepped on a few times by an upset, angry, difficult guest, when you know you did your very, very best, what happens is sometimes cynicism invades us. If you're with me a lot for webcasts, you know I love to talk about this plant, kudzu. Kudzu is a weed that was brought here for landscaping purposes because it grew really fast. Oh, it grows fast. I was recently up in Atlanta, Georgia, driving down Interstate 85. You see, it goes up to the top of the trees. Actually, this week, I was just yesterday leaving Punta Cana at a resort, and I looked at some undeveloped areas. There was kudzu taking over the whole forest. It comes up slowly at first, and then it takes over the tree canopy. Pretty soon, all you see is a forest of kudzu, and below the kudzu, all the trees, all the flowers, all the vegetation dies in the darkness. Don't let kudzu invade your company culture because it will take over. And here's the test to know if kudzu, well, at least to know if cynicism has taken over your kudzu, your company culture. Pull your staff together and tell them to pull out a pen and paper, or they can do it digitally, and say, how would you finish the following question, statement? How would you finish the following statement? Yes, these days only complain because, yeah, I know what y'all are thinking. Yeah, they all just want money back. Okay, it is true. Let's get it out of the way right now. We will talk about full refund scammers in just a moment. But what happens is we start to believe guests only complain because they want something free. And we start to look at every guest as if the only reason they're going to complain because it's some kind of scam. Okay, so it is okay to vent. It is okay to have conversation. Pick one person and vent to your person. You're the ventor, they're the ventee. Then you can switch. They can vent to you, and you will be there for them. But it is not okay to disrespect guests. It is not okay to reinforce those negative stereotypes. So let's bust a few of those myths. Because the day you start to feel that all guests only complain to get money back because they're scammers is probably the day you should resign from hospitality and find a job where you don't have to work with people. Okay, good luck with that, because I don't know what many jobs you can get out there these days where there's not some involvement with people. So let's bust a few myths, okay? Ever since COVID, more people complain than ever before. People are so much meaner these days, Doug. Don't you agree? You know, I get this a lot when I'm out there doing training. This week I was at 2 different hotels. Next week I'm going to be in Punta Mita, Mexico. I hear it in the Caribbean. I hear it in the US. I hear it in Canada. It's kind of invaded a lot of hotels these days. People think back when I first started, everybody was nice, but now they're so mean. Why does it sometimes feel that everyone is complaining? Well, first of all, people have always complained. And this reminds me, back in the day, it used to be, it reminds me of my father, and I guess I sometimes feel like the Progressive commercial, it trains people not to become their parents. A lot of us has become our parents. I remember my dad, who was the great generation, turned 18 in 1942, 6 months after Pearl Harbor, went in the Navy, was in World War II. In his generation, back in the late 60s or early 70s, my older siblings, all kids these days, they're lazy, they don't want to work, right? And now, what does the baby boomer generation say about the young people? No. First of all, that's one myth we're going to bust. But let me just put a perspective of why it feels like everyone is complaining. Okay. And that's because nobody calls to say everything is working fine. Do you ever get that call? You ever get the person says, "Hi, this is Doug, room 1401. Just wanted to call and let you know everything's working great. Air conditioners conditioning the air. Refrigerators cooling my beer. Yeah, the sink is flowing, the toilet's flushing, there's no insects in my room, and the TV is working. Thank you very much." You ever get that call? I don't think so. "Hi, just wanted to call our 5-bedroom house. Everything is going great. Just wanted to let you know." Do the math on this. How many guests are in-house on a sold-out night? So the hotel I was just at is it's opening on June 30th. The Zemi Mishas. Shout out to Zemi Mishas, a Hilton Curio collection. We did the math there as an example. 500 lovely guest rooms. I highly encourage you to check it out. They're going to have an average of probably 2.5 guests we did the math for what they call festive season in the Caribbean. That is between Christmas and New Year's, that whole period. So you'll have a lot of couples there, but you're also going to have a lot of families with 3, 4 people per room. So it's probably closer to 3 people per room during festive season. 500 rooms, 3 people per room, 1,500 rooms. Think about your hotel. 100-room hotel, 1.5 guests, you have 150 people. If you're a 500-room resort, you have probably more like the 2.5 or 3 guests, 1,500 people. If you're a vacation rental company, I encourage my clients when I do training like that, I say, okay, you got 200 properties. How many bedrooms per property? Probably about 3, Doug. Okay, so there'll be 600 room. You're a 600-room hotel. Imagine 600 rooms stacked up on your vacation rental office. You would probably be the largest hotel in most of your areas and towns. How many people are in the rooms in those vacation rental company homes? A lot of them have bunk beds, they have sofa beds, and then there's all the people who sneak in the air mattresses. You have hundreds, maybe thousands of people. How many actual complaints? So when you think about it like that, it's not so bad. Here's another reason though, and I started to touch on this, why it feels like everyone is complaining these days. It's called rosy retrospection. If you've been with me before, you know I love to talk about this concept. Rosy retrospection. Hey, I asked Gemini AI for you. And I got a nice, concise definition. It is a cognitive bias where individuals tend to remember the past events more positively and fondly than they did when they were experiencing those events. In essence, our memories of the past become rose tinted. Rose tinted glasses. That's an expression in US English. So was it really that good? I don't know. When I think back to the actual situations that happened to me when I was a banquet waiter, when I was a bellman, when I worked at the front desk, when I became a reservation manager, front desk manager, director of front office. I can think of a lot of times I was yelled at, screamed at. Back then, Mr. Marriott was a big deal. Mr. Marriott is still a big deal. But I cannot tell you how many friends Mr. Marriott had. We had so many people who would say, "Young man, if you don't give me that early check-in, I'm going to get you fired because I know Mr. Marriott." Well, they could be pretty credible back then because Mr. Marriott's personal secretary, yeah, they called them secretaries back then, actually read all the comment cards. Yeah, I know, because if there was a bad one, she would pass them to Mr. Marriott, who would then circle it in a red pen, send it back to your boss, and you got called into that office. People have always said that. Okay, now they say, I know Conrad Hilton. Yeah, okay, he's been dead since 1968, I think. So, but Mr. Marriott is still alive, so maybe they really know him. So what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, and people around the world, we need to celebrate guest complaints and realize overcoming them successfully where it does not cause us emotional pain and suffering is a hugely valuable skill in today's world. Because I want you to think about today what is happening. And the more we build the skills for overcoming complaints, the better we're going to be positioned for future careers. Because the easy transactions, the easy interactions are being taken over by automation. Think of all the interactions with guests that no longer occur. It's handled through automation, through technology. What's left increasingly are the people who are reaching out to complain. All right. So remember, the worst complaint is the one that's never mentioned, that we read later in a review. So when you sense guests are unhappy, I hope you have the courage and the confidence to engage them. And when you see that frown, or you see the raised eyebrow, or you see a guest standing like this, when you're on the elevator, you enter the elevator and they're like this, and you look over and say, "Hi, Mr. Kennedy. How was your vacation?" Now, here's one we learned from Marshall Kelberman, I believe Director of Rooms, I forget his exact title, Director of Lodging at the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin, used to run the Peabody Hotel. A great thing to say is, "Tell me, Mr. Kennedy, are you having an excellent stay?" We cover that in our Heart of Hospitality certification. So encourage people. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story here. It's one I've told many times because I think it was a great example. It's a story of the Ritz-Carlton Buckhead, Atlanta. Now, Ritz-Carlton, when it was owned by Horst Schulze, which was it wasn't owned by him. He was the CEO of Horst Schulze. It was run by Horst Schulze. They had about 28 hotels. Horst Schulze put Ritz-Carlton on the map for excellence. In fact, he wrote a book about that. Later, Ritz-Carlton got bought by Marriott, 50%, and then 100%. Mr. Schulze moved on to Capella Hotels, which also was one of our clients, proudly. But I went to make a sales call. I had done training for 3, 4, 5 of the individual Ritz-Carltons, and I went to see the big shots at the corporate office. Buckhead, Atlanta, northeast of the city. I stayed at the Ritz-Carlton Buckhead at the time in the 90s, with late 90s, was considered the flagship hotel, one of the best hotels in the world. Haven't been there in a while. I'm pretty sure it's still good. Back then, we were in a brief era of faxing. We were moving from voicemails to emails. In between was the era of faxing. So there was a lot of faxing going back and forth. I would come back to my room, there'd be a message light on, and it would say, "You have faxes, would you like them?" Or they'd slip them under the door. Then you'd have to sign, write notes, and send faxes back. So I sent a fax, and by the way, I'm there with a free room. I'm there with a meals because I'm there for a sales call. All I had to do was pay for my incidental charges. And I went to check out, and I'm there checking out, and they said, "Good morning, Mr. Kennedy. Tell me, how was your stay? How are you today?" Something very personal. I don't remember exactly what he said. And he presented my phone. "Sir, may I present you with your phone?" I said, "Absolutely." I start to look down. I see a couple of phone calls, probably had a mini bar drink back then. Maybe I had, I don't know, coffee, something. And I see a fax charge, a one-page fax, $7.95, 1999 money. I didn't say anything, but I think my face said an expression. If you're watching on video, you see. If you're not, yeah, raised eyebrow. But I didn't say anything. I said, "It looks," I said, "Okay, thank you." He says, "Mr. Kennedy, is there anything on the folio that concerns you?" I said, "Well, yeah, to be honest, $7.95 seems like a lot for a fax." The going rate back then was about $2 for the first page, $1 each additional. but it was the Ritz-Carlton Buckhead. Okay, I wasn't going to complain. I would be embarrassed. They're my client, right? He said, Mr. Kennedy, I'm going to dismiss this charge. Now, I've had charges voided. I have had charges rebated. This was the first time in my entire career I had a charge dismissed. But you know what? It made me happy. Think about how much that actual fax cost. The $7.95 cost about 5 cents maybe in long distance charges. But what was the value of that? Okay. Now, had I been a regular paying guest for, I don't know, $700 a night, that would have been a good choice. So that's what we want to do. Now, how do we get better at sensing when guests are dissatisfied? Oh, go back and rewatch last month's webcast. Epic hospitality, empathy, presence, intuition, connection. Okay, he wouldn't say, hey, how's your stay? Good, good. Here's your bill. Take a look. Have a safe trip home. He was connected to me, okay? And that's what we want to do. So sometimes you don't even have to have epic hospitality and be empathetic and present and intuitive. That's right in your face, okay? It's obvious that they're upset. Now, in today's world, a lot of this comes from texting, vacation rental, you might use Breezeway. Hotels, you might use SOS. A lot of you are texting guests. Welcome. Welcome. The first time I ever had this about 7, 8 years ago, I checked in. I got a message from Sandy from Sandestin Resort. I was there to speak at a conference. It's Sandy from Sandestin. How was your stay? At that time, I had actually got lost trying to find the parking. They told me, go to the building, and on the right side, you'll see the entrance to the parking. I drove to the building on a dark night. On the right side, I saw the entrance, which I drove down to a golf cart path. A few minutes later, I found myself at the very end of the road in the golf course, which I then had to back my way out of in the dark. I was a little annoyed, okay? So Sandy from Sandestin messaged me, and I said, I was given unclear instructions, right? I texted Sandy back. I let it wasn't called AI then. I let that automated text system have it. A few minutes later, the right thing happened. The actual person that checked me in called. And she said, Mr. Kennedy, I apologize if the instructions were unclear. I can imagine how frustrating that would be. Now I felt bad. I said, well, actually, it may not be your fault. It might have been just me. They stopped that snowball from rolling down that hill. Now, if you live in Florida, if you live in a warm climate, maybe you don't know about snowballs, but they start out very small. And as they go down that hill, more snow sticks and it grows and grows and grows. Pick up the phone and call people. Be dialed in and have confidence to encourage them to complain. All right. Now, again, referring back to a few of our previous webcasts for more research, how to be a lightning rod, to literally stand tall and be ready to receive that bolt of lightning. You ever been around a bolt of lightning or had it hit outside your window? It's really a shuddering moment, but if you're confident, it's going to pass right through. Just like the lightning rod takes the lightning bolt and sends it into the ground. That's why they call it grounded, okay? So what actually causes guests to complain? Well, let's review the most common reasons in today's lodging and accommodations industry. Number one, the guest expectation did not match up with the accommodation selected, okay? Maybe for those of you who do online dating, it might feel like that. I don't know. I've been happily married to Kathy Cook for 19 years. Oh, I hope I got that right because I think she's listening. We've been together, it'll be 23 years this fall. But for those of you who date, I see this in commercials and movies. The person shows up, they don't look like the picture. Okay, it's a bad date. So a lot of that might be from our own website, but it also might be from those online travel agencies and third parties that distribute it. Okay, or maybe the person that booked it is not the person staying there. So this is why, especially when someone is booked online and they call to reconfirm or with a quick question, we want to encourage conversations about what they're booking wherever we connect. So if they call by phone, okay, this is why we go through reservation sales quest training, not only to get them to book, but to make sure they book the right accommodation. Sometimes though, people are booking in platform, which in platform bookings would be the OTAs, Expedia, Booking, Vrbo, etc., Airbnb. We can exchange messages, okay? And they say, tell me, is this a good accommodation for families? Reply back, tell me what you're looking for, how old are the children, not just are they 18 or under, for billing purposes. Anytime they call after they book prior to arrival. Now, by the way, if you're a Forbes rated hotel, my understanding is what I'm hearing these days, Forbes inspector does not book by phone. They book online and then they call you. Okay, so even Forbes, I believe, is trying to help us as an industry focus on reconfirmation calls. Anytime you have them on the line, say, yes, Mr. Kennedy, we do have your reservation, and I see you have booked standard traditional room. Did you have any questions about the accommodation? And by the way, are you celebrating anything special? Now, if they are, you can put that in the comments and remarks field. Another thing from our Heart of Hospitality training. And now the reception can say, welcome, congratulations on your birthday, your anniversary. Or at a vacation rental where you're checking them in remotely, you can send your maintenance tech over to fix the battery in the remote that they couldn't figure out how to work that remote maybe. And vacation rentals, are you notifying maintenance techs when they go out a little bit about the guest? Okay. Do we at least give them the name so they can say, hi, Mr. Jones, hi, Mrs. Smith, right? Every opportunity. Second thing that causes complaints, something went wrong with a process or procedure, the pre-arrival instructions, the check-in process, the housekeeping issues, the maintenance issues. Sometimes the guests cause this themselves because they did not read the pre-arrival instructions, okay? They got their email, which was very clear on a large monitor, but when you read it on a small device, or you didn't read it at all, and it says, the actual keypad is located on the side door. I remember once in the hill country of Texas, I was going to present training. I drive up to this gigantic house and it said in the instructions, okay, and I went right to the bottom where it said the key code. And yes, I remember to press check after the numbers, but I go to the front door, there's another door. There's another key code box on the front door. I'm trying. It didn't take the code. So I called, I woke someone up. Yeah. And then I realized it said in the instructions, the side door had the different key code box. So this is what happens, okay? And they're going to be upset. We have to talk them down and say, I understand how you feel. I apologize if it was confusing. Instead of saying, dude, line 3, paragraph 1, side door. Which part do you not understand, the side or the door? Okay. So understand how people are feeling. Number 3 cause, trigger words that ignite a negative response and send someone into a mental spiral. And I just learned a new word yesterday for this, but I can't think of what it is. But a mental spiral, it's a word young people are using. Maybe somebody can message me. But what happens is a little trigger, boom, and you have someone that will react. We're going to talk about why that is in just a moment, but certain words will set them off. Let me give you examples. Oh, okay, sir, I'll have to check on that for you. When a service provider says they'll have to me as a guest, if I'm tired, if I'm hungry, if I'm annoyed, if I'm impatient at the moment, and they say I'll have to, I interpret that as, I don't really want to, sir, but I guess I'll have to. Yeah. If it wasn't for all you guests interrupting us, we could get a lot more work done in the accommodations business. So much better to say, allow me to check on that for you. Doesn't that sound better? You'll have to, oh, do not say this to me, especially if I'm tired or hungry or already annoyed from a long day of travel and someone says, you'll have to. My first reaction, not doing it. Don't have to. I go back many decades to my youth, and that 17-year-old spirit of the rebel Doug Kennedy comes out. I'm like, nope, not doing it. But if they say, sir, may I just suggest? Okay, I'll do it. Yeah. This is a trigger word for a lot of people like me. I don't think so. Pretty sure. Should be. How late is the fitness center open? Oh, should be open till 7. Oh, great. After my day of teaching a training class all day, I don't have to rush to the gym because it's open till 7. I can go back, have a little snack, check my email, and then relax and go for my workout because it's open till 7. Except I get there with my weight gloves on, my sneakers on, warmed up from a little jog to the gym. It is closed. Can you tell that's happened to me recently? Or should be open at 6 a.m. Oh, before I take my flight that I have to leave the hotel at 7:30, I have time to work out. So I wake up from a deep slumber early, right? Same thing for vacation rentals. Yes, there should be, it should have an iron, there should be a blender. Yeah, the Wi-Fi code should be on the refrigerator. Let's find out for sure and let's let them know. This happens all the time. In fact, it may happen all the time, but if it happens all the time, do not ever say it happens all the time. Okay. We have to act a little surprised. Really? The elevator is out. Uh, no, the ice machine on the 3rd floor. You want to say, yep, been out 3 weeks waiting on a part. Okay. The yeah, happens all the time. We've been telling the owners they got to fix that. They don't want to spend the money. Happens all the time. The accommodation was dirty. Yeah, I know, new housekeeper. We've been getting a lot of complaints in that section. My apologies that you had this occur. All companies have dirty little secrets of things that tend to go wrong. We don't have to advertise it. It's against our policy. Talk about a trigger word. The word policy alone is a trigger word for a lot of guests. Now, it's really hard to find what to say instead. Okay. So I'm going to give you some ideas. The answer to this one is in the context of the question. Okay. So if someone says, I can't smoke in the room, okay, now I don't think people actually ask that anymore around the world. The more and more there is non-smoking. Unless you're a casino hotel, maybe you still have it. Okay. Um, okay, I'm going to say, may I, this is not me, okay, because I don't do this, but people might say, may I consume my cannabis uh, pipe or uh, here in the room or on the balcony because I have a medical marijuana card. Okay, no, it's against our policy. Okay, well, I have a medical marijuana card. Well, sometimes you could say state law actually prohibits use of cannabis in a public area, but so sometimes you can use laws, you can say fire codes. Hi, I want to book a room. It says it accommodates 4 or 6 in a condo, but we have 7. But the last one is a little baby, and we're bringing a pack and play. Do they still call them pack and plays? That's what they called them when my kids were little. Um, or we're bringing air mattresses. Oh, it's against our policy. Okay, it might be better to say, oh, due to fire codes. Yes, the local fire codes, there's a limited number of people in the accommodation for fire code. It's the fire marshal. Okay. So sometimes you can use the state law, sometimes you can use the local ordinance, but sometimes it's just your policy. Hi, I know you take pets, but I saw online there's a weight limit of, let's make this really ridiculous. There's a weight limit of 75 pounds. But my dog weighs 125. But He's very well behaved. He never barks. He has never had any fleas. He has not ever bitten anyone. Well, except that one time a few years ago, but we settled that lawsuit. But it's special. Can I please bring my Rover? Okay. Now, sometimes, okay, now I'm not going to train you to lie or anything. Frontline people that are honest hospitality personalities, but sometimes you do have to check further. Now, what that means for you depends on where you work, okay? If you work at the front desk, you say, let me check further. And you walk into the back room and you stand there and you sing happy birthday. Remember happy birthday? During COVID, we washed our hands. We were supposed to sing happy birthday. We would know it's about 20 seconds, perfect amount of time. And then you walk back and say, oh, in checking further, as it turns out, we cannot make an exception to state law, which prohibits smoking of cannabis anywhere in a public area. Okay, but I checked further. So if you do this on the phone, you might say, let me check further, put them on hold, sing happy birthday to yourself. Your boss comes by, what are you doing? I'm checking with you, and you're saying no. Oh, and checking further, as it turns out, it is still no. Okay, now I did not encourage you to lie. You had to check further. Okay, you had to look at the screen. You had to give it some thought. Let me check further. Let me make sure. Oh, yes, my boss did say absolutely no. Oh, I checked further. Okay. So sometimes now, then again, if possible, push to safety purposes, legal reasons, health, or the well-being of other guests. All right, let's start to move towards our wrap-up section here. We got a few more minutes, but I want you to think about the types of complainers that we have. So, by the way, this is also a 3-hour class. When we do it in person on site, it's a lot more involved. If you're interested in that, let me know. And I do want to thank Lance and Elaine Stitcher, owners of Seaside Vacations, which encouraged me to redevelop this course, which I had not delivered. I actually launched this course right before COVID, put it in the mothballs. But one of the things we talk about in those classes on site, and I want to share with you today to get you thinking, is the types of complainers that we actually get. All right. So first of all, we're going to get this out of the way for those cynics out there. Yes, there are free stuff seekers. Okay. Have faith though. The vast majority of guests are not scammers. What happens is that one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. Reminds me of a Jackson 5 song. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch, baby. This person comes to seek out money back from the time they first reach out. Okay. So let's acknowledge these people are out there. They will always be out there. They have always been out there. Okay. Now, without digressing too much, I'm going to also refer you to our KTN YouTube channel, April 2024, where we did a whole webcast, how to successfully field legitimate guest complaints and stop the full refund scammer. And it starts with documenting your side of the story. So when they do dispute their charge with the credit card company or do that bad review, you don't have to do forensic research to what happened a week or a month ago. Then we have the pessimistic negative sorters. These people here, that's just how they are. Like, there's some guests that come to the hotel and they come back every time again and again and again and again, and they complain the whole time. They complain. During their stay, they complain. And at the end, they actually make a list. Oh, I have a list here. Hello, Mr. Kennedy, how are you? Did you have an excellent stay? Well, actually, a few things went wrong. Here's a list of 17 things, okay? But by the way, I want to come back and make a reservation. Can I make a reservation with you right now? Because I want to come back again next time so I can complain some more and give you another list, okay? This is just the way some people are. They're the glass half empty pool people. They're the people that look at the sky when the weather calls for 10% chance of rain. There's a few clouds. It's partly cloudy. It is not mostly sunny to them. That's just the way they are. You probably have someone in your family you're thinking of right now. We also have the guest bullies. There are people out there that are just plain mean. Now, I'm not talking about the ones that are so extreme that your manager, she kicks them out of the hotel, or you have call security, or you call the law enforcement. Bullies don't do that. They pick, and then they back off. They pick, and back off. They know how not to push you too far, and then they just ease back off. Okay. This is the kid in your fourth grade class that kicked your chair when the teacher wasn't looking, or tried to steal your lunch money or your candy. Okay. So when you encounter those negative bullies, the negative, pessimistic people, it is okay to vent, but do not ruminate. Break that habit of rumination. Rumination, we've covered this also in previous classes. That's where we go over in the mind repeatedly. We relive it. So it's okay to vent. Pick your go-to vent person, okay? It's almost like a tag team, and you be there for them, and they're there for you, okay? By the way, pick someone other than the person you have to live with, your roommate, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your romantic partner, your significant other, okay? And be sure to reciprocate for them, but don't put it on your families and your loved ones. You know, have that go-to person you call to. But after you vent, visualize your power of release, okay? Don't give them the remote control over your emotional well-being, all right? But now let's talk about what I believe to be the vast majority of people who are complaining. How do I know? Because I may not work on your side of the conversation anymore. I don't work across the desk. I don't pick up the phone with the traveling public. I don't exchange emails with them, but I'm traveling with them. Okay. I'm on the planes. I'm on the other side of the counters. I'm in the restaurants. I'm in the airport lobbies, and I see people complaining. And what I find to be the case, I still believe, is normal human beings. Normal people, just like me, just like you, going through a difficult situation or circumstance. All right. So you start off your day, you're happy, everything is great. The day of your travel, your business trip, or your vacation, and you wake up happy. But your travel starts to take its toll, and by the time you arrive, you are ready to scream or to cry. Now, I have a picture of a female up here, but let me tell you right now, that is me sometimes. Okay. So, I had a real string of events in my trip back home that started Wednesday night. It had nothing to do with the Curio Collections Emmy Beaches, which was great. And the transportation they provided me back was excellent. But I was going back for a stop to be closer to the Punta Cana airport for my morning flight home. From there, and it was a nice hotel I was staying at, another client, I was very grateful. But anything that could have gone wrong went wrong, including a power outage in my room that they got fixed. And right when I laid down to go to bed, to wake up early for my morning flight, and I got everything set out, my clothes for the next day, and I'm texting a family member and saying, "Oh, the power's working. Yay. Send." Power went out again. Things try our patience sometimes. Now, at that point, I did manage to stay in character. I did not cry, okay? And I certainly did not scream at the person, especially when the young man who helped me, um, I said, "Oh, you're new." He helped me actually move. He shared with me that he was from the country of Haiti and how proud he was to have this job so he could send money back home to his family. And I know a lot of Haitians here in South Florida. I know what's going on in Haiti, and I know what a terrible time it is for our Haitian friends. That put me into perspective. So that made my problems of a hot room and having to change rooms and transportation issues, which continued on the next morning all the way to the airport, puts it in perspective. But not every guest stops to think about that. And they get hungry, they get tired, they get weary, they get annoyed by kids going, "Are we there yet? I'm hungry. I gotta go pee." Yeah. So remember, there's emotions being played every day. Conquering complaints, confidently, I want to conclude with a visual and a last training tip for you. When people are complaining, I want you to imagine a carrot. Now, I know some of you are thinking, Doug, what the heck does a carrot have to do with managing complaints? I hope you'll stick with me for the last few minutes to hear, because I actually call this the carrot model, which we are trademarking right now. The carrot, when you buy it at the store, is this part right here. But if you're a home gardener, you're happy right now. It's a great time to grow vegetables in the spring. You know there's roots at the end, and the actual carrot itself is a root. It's got all these little hairy like things. And what you see is actually above ground. You do not see an orange carrot when you grow them at home. You only see what's on the surface. So I use this as an analogy when someone is complaining. The part that we see as people in the accommodations business, as hospitality workers, what we see in person, or what we see through our ears in a phone call, or what we literally see by reading a text message or in-app message, we only see what's on the surface. What we see is some, in many people's opinion, some annoyed middle-aged lady, or some, okay, I'm not going to call myself an elderly gentleman, but an older guy who's mad about his air conditioning going out. And he's on vacation and I'm working. He's staying at a 4-star resort, getting all this free food. It was an all-inclusive. All they see is what's on the surface. All we see is what's on the surface, okay? And what's on the surface is an annoyed, unhappy, unreasonable, difficult person, okay? Well, what we don't know is what's underneath. The root of the problem with most complaints is the emotional reaction to what went wrong, okay? And it might have nothing to do with you. It might not have anything to do with the hotel. It might have something to do with the weather. We don't know what's going on in people's lives. We don't know what report just came back from the medical office. You know, you get a medical test and then you leave on vacation. It used to be, you know, the doctor would call you up. Now they send you MyChart. I don't know if you have MyChart at your doctor's office, and you read, oh no. If you actually read the test, it looks a lot scarier than what it is. I know I've had that. I'm like, oh my God, oh my gosh, I got mitral valve, blah, 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 blah. And my glucose and my hemoglobin, I don't even know these are the right words, right? You don't, or worse yet, you read the medical report for your loved one or your kid. We don't know. We don't know what happened. Someone got fired by text or by email. Okay, that happened to a lot of people in the first part of the year here in the United States. They've already planned their vacation. Maybe they're already going on their vacation. You have no idea what's going on. So before you treat the problem, fix their emotional reaction. And all we have to do there, it requires the uniquely giving them the unique fulfilling rather. It requires fulfilling the uniquely human need for us as humans to receive validation. Dogs don't need it, cats don't need it, birds don't need it, hermit crabs don't need it. Yes, I have a 22-year-old hermit crab at home. His name is Krabby. Animals don't need validation. We need validation. We need it badly. Wars have been started by not validating the needs of others, okay? At least romantic wars. Marriages have been broken up. Boyfriends and boyfriends have broken up. Girlfriends and girls have broken up. Boys and girls have broken up. Relationships have split due to validation. People no longer talk to their loved ones. We need it. Let's give it to our guests. Remember, ladies, gentlemen, people, we are emotional beings. We're living in a physical world. The world is governed by emotion more than intellect. Decisions are made by the heart, not the head. Reactions are powered by our emotions, not logic. So I'm going to teach you now how to express empathy. And then you get to the root cause of the problem. If you don't treat the root cause of the problem, you chop off the top of that carrot and you walk away with the little green part, but you leave the root. buried. Now, if you're a backyard gardener, you ever grow potatoes? You ever grow carrots? You didn't harvest them that year? Okay. What happens when the carrot is left in the ground? It rots and it gets stinky and the worms come and consume it. Okay. So don't just chop off the top, treat the root cause. That's why I hope the carrot model makes sense to you. Okay. So how do we do that? All right. Before you apologize, in every role play in every class I've ever done, I say, let's role play. How do you resolve a complaint? We usually do the key won't work, or the key code won't work, or the remote won't turn on the TV. I had that. I was trying to watch NBA Finals Game 5, and I turn on the TV, and it says the Oklahoma Thunder versus the Indiana Pacers. Click, and no channel played. Okay. Before you treat the TV problem, treat the root cause. Okay. And the root cause is the uniquely human need for validation. To give someone validation, express empathy. So when you give empathy, you show empathy, they receive a sense of validation. That means I get you. I understand you. I got you. I feel you, as young people say today. So now I'm going to give you the script, okay? Please don't read it as a script. Ms. Cook, I understand how you feel and I apologize for the situation. You have to do this with heart. That's what Epic was about last month. Ms. Cook, I can imagine how frustrating that might be. I understand. And if I had a 4-year-old, or if I had a 90-year-old with me, or if my room was that far away and I was here in this situation, I can imagine how it would be that the weather has rained all week during your vacation. Did you cause the weather, or you have a connection with the rain gods? I don't think so. Well, we understand the weather hasn't cooperated, right? And I apologize for the situation. But when you do that, and when you do it right, you're going to hear this. Well, I know it's not your fault. Then you're actually being very nice. You know, you pulled the whole carrot out, you cleaned it off, and you resolved it. Okay. So, you know, you cut the fuse off the stick of dynamite that will not explode, and people start to calm down. And so, I hope this has been helpful for you. Conquering complaints confidently. Are you ready to go and solicit complaints? Okay. Now, I don't actually want you to celebrate. Excuse me, I need to speak with someone. We have a complaint. Awesome! That's not the idea. But in your heart of heart, I want you to always remember complaints are a good thing. The worst complaint is the one that's never mentioned. Okay. Please join us again in July, where we cover 10 practical action steps for securing more direct bookings. And we'll be joining in August. We return to the hotel sales, hotel group event sales. Also is good for anyone and any sales at your company, where we look at cooking up new sales. We're going to use cooking and fine dining analogies to have some fun revisiting essential sales skills. Lots more every month coming up. Also, our Spotify, if you're an audio podcast person, you can hear our archive of podcasts, probably about 30 now on Spotify. We're getting them loaded up a couple of months. We hope to have them all up very, very soon. They are all on YouTube podcast. So YouTube podcast, you can listen to the audio, or you can see me in the office. Please check out Kate's monthly training tip. These are short, 3 to 5 minutes. They're great for telephone sales, telephone operators. They're really a lot of hospitality. They're excellent for reservation selling. Kate just did this one. It's about 5 minutes long. Kate's investigative training tip. It's Kateline, kind of like Dateline. Check it out. We need to get her some views. So please, yeah, that's an investigation into the case of a boring booking. Please keep us in mind, on-site training. I'd love to come out to present at any conferences you have or train your staff. My team, Kate, Kathy, others, Christina, they do Sherry, Gus, they do private live webcam training. We also do private live webcam coaching. I hope I didn't leave anyone out on my list. All of our team is amazing. Mystery shopping or scoring recorded calls. If you record calls through any system, such as TrackPulse, our sponsor, or any of the others, we score real calls. And as I mentioned, our private live webcam coaching presented by our amazing team. So thank you for joining me. Those of you who joined me live, I appreciate you having maybe a lunch and learn, or if you're in another time zone, a good night milk and cookies. If you're watching us on YouTube or hearing on audio, please join us again. If you do sign up, you have to sign up for each individual webcast to be part of the next one. And do note, if you don't attend live, you will automatically receive the recording. Thank you again, everyone. Happy Friday if you're watching live, and we hope to see you again next week, next month for our training webcast in July.